We check 1 2, check 1 2. We used to always start on Sunday mornings with a song and singing together, and we got out of the habit during COVID when we weren't singing. But we'd like to try that again. This is There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Let's get lyrics up, please. So feel free to stand or to stay seated. Up to you. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul and in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind and in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart and in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing, and there's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul. Please be seated, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Christine Dance. My pronouns are she and hers, and it is an honor to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. Welcome. Our congregation sits on the unceded land of the O'odham people who were stewards of this land for hundreds of years before colonization. On this Sunday, when we are exploring indigenous religions, let us remember that this is stolen and sacred land, and that it is our obligation to make reparations to those from whom it was taken. Please find a place in our sanctuary where your body can be comfortable. Feel free to move around, find the seating option that works for you best, participate in activities in the back, or listen to the service from our meditation garden to the doors to the right. A very special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. Do we have any first-timers here? I've met some of you in the, yes, welcome, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, for this wild time. We are focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything we do. So let's welcome all who are joining us online. Those of us in the room, can we say hi to our folks on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook, hello, and we love you. Amen. And let us welcome our worship associate, Amy McClendon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy McClendon. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm honored to be your worship associate this morning. Our opening words are a slightly abridged version of the poem Remember by Joy Harjo, former U.S. Poet Laureate and member of the Muskogee Nation. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth, we are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who are all their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember. Please join me as we recite our covenant, and Jennifer and Adelaide light our chalice. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship. Thus do we covenant. There was also a dragon involved in that lighting. I just want to acknowledge something. Breathing fire onto the chalice. Everything going on at UUCP can be found on our website, which is phoenixuu.org, and our weekly newsletter, Compass. In 2 weeks, it will be our congregation's annual meeting. We will be voting on our budget for next year, a minor change to our bylaws, and the slate of leadership positions. We will be having 3 meetings, both in person and on Zoom, to review the budget and the bylaws between now and then. Please look in Compass for the dates and times of those meetings. The UUCP Nominating Committee is announcing a change in the officer candidates for the Board of Trustees, with Bunny Hodas now running as president, and Shelley Stevenson and Johnny Lifshitz as co-vice presidents. All other officers and candidates remain the same. Shelley and her family have just received confirmation that they will be moving to Helsinki, Finland in the next year. And she has offered to serve with Johnny Lifshitz as a co-vice president until she leaves. You can review all of the candidates' bios and pictures on our website and in the annual meeting packet in Compass. We deeply appreciate Shelley's service and dedication to our community and leadership, and we know that this is a wonderful opportunity for Shelley and her family. And while we're so very excited for them, we will also miss them very much. For our offering, we share the plate each week between UUCP and a different organization as a way to reflect our values. For the final week in May, our Share the Plate partner is Black Lives Matter Phoenix Metro. Black Lives Matter Phoenix Metro is a Black, queer, and femme-led organization that centers Black people who are the most impacted and marginalized because we believe all Black lives matter. For all you give to our congregation and to our community partner, we are so very grateful.
Good morning. I'm Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. Before we start out with our story today, I'm going to ask that we take a little moment to celebrate and say congratulations and give a blessing to a group of people who are with us today. And they are a group of people who are with us pretty much every Sunday, and I'm amazed that they get out of bed on Sundays. See, last week we celebrated academic transitions, right? Going up a grade and learning and progress. But there's a group of people who help make that happen that we don't always mention. And I want to say, teachers, you survived another year. This is the moment when you will get sick. Your body will say, okay, I don't have to go to school tomorrow. Now I'm going to have all of the colds and flus that I didn't have all year. This is the moment that you will look at your house and go, oh, this happened. But hopefully also this is the moment that you'll remember that we're here for you. Tell us if you need a cup of coffee. Tell us if you need someone to come hang out and help you dust. Tell us if you want to tell us an amazing story about school this year. We want to help carry you because you carry all of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, this morning's story, I'm going to need some people to come up because I need an invading force. And I need you to gather over here.
Where's the invading force?
Over here. Right here. You can be on the steps over here in this area, okay? This is perfect.
Am I overemphasizing my invading forces?
Okay. It's fantastic. Nice. Very nice. Okay. So I want to tell you that this morning's story is going to include a phrase that I don't normally call people, but it's what the people themselves use and what they used at the time, and it includes a title that becomes very important. So normally, when I talk about people who have generationally been on this land forever, I try and say Indigenous, or I say Native American. But today I'm going to say American Indian. And we know that that word's a little different, but we also know that when people say, this is my name and my identity, we don't say, no, it's not, you're wrong, right? So the phrase American Indian becomes very, very important to the people in this story. So we're going to use it because we want to honor them. And we're not going to tell them, no, your name is the wrong name you chose. Got it? Okay. Okay, so this story starts on November 20th, 1969, outside of San Francisco. In fact, truly outside. November's cold, for those of us who live here. It's cold, cold. And when I say outside of San Francisco, I mean in the water. Actually in the water. There are waves crashing and moving, and there's cold, cold, icy water. And you all are on a boat. You're actually on quite a few boats. See, our band of invading forces is 89 people. And among them, there are men and women and children. There are teachers. There are nurses and healers. There are engineers. There are activists. There are people who have been named criminals. And every single person is here by choice and by selection. Everyone has a purpose to serve. So all of you are cold. All of you are in a boat. And I'm a guard. I am the one and only guard who has been left to guard a piece of land. And the action of tonight's story starts out with me making a frantic call. Mayday, mayday! The Indians have landed! This is the point when you all jump up and move over here.
You're the invading force?
You are invading. Begin your invasion.
Begin our invasion.
Good job. I like the sneaky invasion happening here. So can you imagine what it was like to leave your city homes? Many of you lived in Oakland, a city in California. Some of you lived on reservations in the middle of dry land. And you got in boats and all came to the island of Alcatraz. You can take a seat because you are going to occupy this space. So in 1969, a group of people organized themselves as the Indians of all tribes. And they occupied the island of Alcatraz. Alcatraz was once a prison. It was an island that was taken by the US and turned into a prison to hold people. It was then abandoned and left to rot. But here's the thing, just because our government has decided a piece of land is worthless doesn't mean it's no longer sacred. Doesn't mean it's no longer important. And so when the IAT, Indians of all tribes, occupied Alcatraz, what they were saying was not, we are colonizing this, not, we are taking this away from you, but this was always ours. Say that with me. This was always ours. Exactly. The occupation of Alcatraz is amazing in US history because it was one of the times where we see a community that came together, designed who would be part of that community, and then with a plan took action. It wasn't, oh no, everything's crazy, let's all go and figure out what to do next, right? It was, let's make a plan, let's make sure everyone's taken care of. Within 8 days, they had operational schools set up for the kids. Within 1 month, they had learning institutes where they had college professors coming in and teaching all sorts of things. They had a functional labor and delivery unit. They had all sorts of healthcare and food, but food was a tricky one, right? It's November on a rocky island. So the band Creedence Clearwater Revival bought them a boat so they could ship food back and forth. That makes sense, right?
Another reason to like John Foley.
Exactly. This occupation lasted for 19 months. It did end, they were removed, but people came back and forth and a few different things. Alcatraz is now a national park, and the US would say, oh, that was the mediated response. That was the thing negotiation came up with, and that was an even share. Here's the thing. The reason that the occupation needed to happen, the reason that we have to talk about today, the reason that most of us don't realize that that Phoenix has the largest urban native population in the country is because we think all the natives are dead. And we are continually taught that again and again and again. Okay. When we decide that people don't exist anymore, we free ourselves from taking care of them, and we have completed the cycle of dehumanization. And a word that we've talked about, genocide. We've decided they're all dead. So if we as nice people up in our castle in Paradise Valley want to do something about this and carry it on, one of the things we need to look at is the request that currently exists by AIM to give back Alcatraz to the Native community so that the first island that people will see when coming into San Francisco will be a Native-held land. And they ask that it honors one of the original things, which is AIM is willing to pay, just like IAT was back in the 60s. They're willing to pay for Alcatraz. How much do you think an island might be worth? How much should we pay for an island? How much?
$1 million.
$1 million. How much?
$20K.
20K. Any other thoughts?
$100 million.
$100 million. I like that. And all land is sacred, and we can't put a cost value on sacred things, right? And holy things. So we do have a price, though, and a price that's willing to be paid. $24 worth of glass beads and red cloth. Now, grown-ups who know your history, because I know this isn't taught in Arizona right now, why is $24 worth of glass beads and red cloth important? What's the significance? Manhattan. That's how much the US paid Native folks for the island of Manhattan, where New York City is. So all they're saying is fair is fair. Equal return. Yeah. Okay, so this story is fun to tell because it's adventure and darkness and night, and I like thinking of the piracy element of it. But I want us to go back to where we've been occupying forces this summer, this spring. We were the people in Watts, right? And we were told that if we lived here, there would be more crime, not just more grilled cheese sandwiches, because we were there and we were bad. We talked about oppression, and that it's not just the person who's being held down's job to lift up the arm, right? Everyone has to work on it, and the arm needs to go away. Here's the last piece, is that when people fight for their own rights in their own space, we have to acknowledge it, we have to honor it, and we have to believe what they need. And we have to stand behind them. Because liberation only happens when someone says, this is what I need to be free, and we look at them and say, yeah, you're right. And we stand beside them. And we can give people back land. It's not hard, it's not a big deal. As much as we want to say it's more complicated than that, it doesn't have to be. Okay. My last thought for today is that imagine if every time we had an invading force, we brought a labor and delivery unit and a pack of teachers. That would be amazing. That's all. Thank you so much.
So I'm Benji Messer, the music director here. I use he, him pronouns. I'm doing a few pieces during this service by Native musicians. The offertory was the Navajo Prelude for Piano No. 3 by Connor Chi, who lives here in Metro Phoenix. I think he's down in Chandler. He's a wonderful pianist. And this next is by the songwriter Peter Lafarge, who grew up near Santa Fe. It's called The Ballad of Ira Hayes. Now, Ira Hayes was a Pima Native American. He was one of the Marines in the famous World War II photo of the U.S. flag being raised in Iwo Jima. And after the war, as you'll hear in the song, he struggled a bit. Well, gather around me, people, and a story I will tell about a brave young Indian that you should remember well. From the tribe of Pima Indian, a proud and peaceful band who farmed the Phoenix Valley in Arizona land. Down their ditches for 1,000 years, the sparkling water rushed, till the white man stole their water rights, and the running water hushed. Now Ira's folks were hungry. Their farm grew crops of weeds. But when war came, he volunteered and forgot the white man's greed. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Well, they started up Iwo Jima Hill, 250 men, but only 27 lived to walk back down again. And when the fight was over and Old Glory raised, one of the men who held it high was the Indian, Ira Hayes. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Well, Ira Hayes returned a hero, celebrated throughout the land. He was wined and dined and speeched and honored. Everybody shook his hand. But he was just a Pima Indian. No money, no crops, no chance. At home, nobody cared what Ira had done. When do the Indians dance? Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Well, Ira started drinking hard. Jail often was his home. They let him raise the flag and lower it like you'd throw a dog a bone. He died drunk early one morning, alone in the land he fought to save. 2 inches of water in a lonely ditch was the grave for Ira Hayes. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war. Yes, call him drunken Ira Hayes, but his land is still as dry, and his ghost is lying thirsty in the ditch where Ira died. Call him drunken Ira Hayes, he won't answer anymore. Not the whiskey-drinking Indian or the Marine who went to war.
All the stories. Thank you, Benji. It is the time when we share the joys and sorrows of our community. Being together, it is good to share, to support each other, and to connect. Folks on Zoom, please feel free to enter any of your joys and sorrows into the chat, putting your name at the beginning. For those in person, there is a table in the back where we can light candles and share our joys and sorrows. I have some here. Let us take a deep breath while we create space for the joys and sorrows of this community. Katie Boxley wanted me to let you all know that she has been in the hospital, and she just returned, I believe yesterday, to Friendship Village in the health center. She went in for ankle surgery, but her oxygen went down, and she almost died. She is recovering mentally and physically. Our love to her and her mother, Sally Boyd, who is so worried about her. And our caring ministry team has been checking on both of them. Vince Leone sent a message and asked for your thoughts and prayers as he goes through a dental implant procedure in Istanbul. Online, we have from Stephen and Amy Miskell, a joy. Friday was our 11th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to the Miskells. And I don't know who iPad 2 is. If they want to tell me who that is, I'll give some time online. But I've got some here in person as well. And the sorrow, is that you, Danny? Yes, okay. From Danny up in the loft. Sorrow, a college friend passed away last week. He was a light and a love to those around him. And a teacher and a musician. Our condolences to you, Danny. Ann Lackey is iPad 2, so thank you, Ann. Ann says, my longtime friend, Patricia, will be going to a hospice facility this week. We send you love, Ann, as you celebrate and think about Patricia. A joy from Peyton, who is running our Zoom at home. Grateful to spend some time with family this week after being sick for most of the week and working on the weekend. Value the time you have with family greatly. From John Palumbo around Chandani and Gita. I know Chandani was out here. Is Gita here? I see you. What a week. On Thursday, Chandani graduated magna cum laude from high school. And on Friday, we celebrated Gita's birthday. What a big celebration in the Palumbo home. From the Stevenson, yeah, I love that. From the Stevenson Brown family, who we've heard from about this a bit too, but we are joyful that Chloe has joined us for the summer as she completes her internship at Phoenix Sister Cities. Welcome back from college, Chloe. We're so glad you're back home with us. And Leo made us proud last night with a lovely performance at his violin recital. Congratulations. From Joan Gale, Joan says, Joan was very happy to hang a quilt that the Kessler family donated to UUCP. And is it the one on the left back there? Is that, Joan, is that the one? Yeah, the one on the left. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's in the back of the sanctuary if you want to see that and remember the Kesslers. And from Jade Barger up in our sound loft, Jade has a very important interview. And she says, rarely I ask, but I have a third and final interview for a very lucrative position as chief audio engineer at ASU this week. And I will take any and all positive thoughts, vibes, and even prayers. Yes, it is that intense, Jade says. Good luck to you. We will be sending you lots of love. For all of the joys and sorrows in this community, those spoken and those that are held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, we send our love. Let us send a heart to those online, being connected, sharing our love for one another. I'm going to come down here for our prayer and meditation. I invite you to take some deep breaths, to settle in your seat, to come to a contemplative place. Robin Wall Kimmerer, author of the book Braiding Sweetgrass, shared the Thanksgiving address that was original to the Haudenosaunee people, also known as the Iroquois. This address is also known as the words that come before all else, as it is traditionally spoken to greet the day, to start a meeting, or before starting negotiations with other nations. When Kimmerer asked the Onondaga faith keeper Orrin Lyons about sharing the Thanksgiving address in her book, he said, "Of course you should write about it. It's supposed to be shared. Otherwise, how can it work? We've been waiting for 500 years for people to listen. If they understood the Thanksgiving, then we wouldn't be in this mess." So as we read it together, feel the gratitude in your heart for all of the life around us that gives us so much. Today we will weave these sacred words with the song, "We Give Thanks."
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Now we'll be tagging just the end like this. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Let's try that one more time. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Today we have gathered and we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one, and we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We are all thankful to our mother, the earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. To our mother, we send greetings and thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst and providing us with strength. Water is life. We know its power in many forms: waterfalls and rain, mists and streams, rivers and oceans. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the Spirit of water. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We turn our minds to all the fish life in the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water. They also give themselves to us as food. We are grateful that we can still find pure water. So we turn now to the fish and send our greetings and thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Now we turn toward the vast fields of plant life. As far as the eye can see, the plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. With one mind, we turn to honor and thank all the food plants we harvest from the garden. Since the beginning of time, the grains, vegetables, beans, and berries have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them too. We gather all the plant foods together as one and send them a greeting of thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Now we turn to all the medicine herbs of the world. From the beginning, they were instructed to take away sickness. They are always waiting and ready to heal us. We are happy there are still among us those special few who remember how to use these plants for healing. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the medicines and the keepers of the medicines. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We gather our minds together to send greetings and thanks to all of the animal life in the world. They have so many things to teach us as people. We are honored by them when they give up their lives so we may use their bodies as food for our people. We see them near our homes and in the deep forests. We are glad they are still here, and we hope it will always be so. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We now turn our thoughts to the trees. The earth has many families of trees who have their own instructions and uses. Some provide us with shade and shelter, others with fruit, beauty, and other useful things. Many people of the world use a tree as a symbol of peace and strength. With one mind, we greet and thank the tree life. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We put our minds together as one and thank all the birds who move and fly about over our heads. The Creator gave them beautiful songs. Each day they remind us to enjoy and appreciate life. The eagle was chosen to be their leader. To all the birds, from the smallest to the largest, we send our joyful greetings and thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We are all thankful to the powers we know as the four winds. We hear their voices in the moving air as they refresh us and purify the air we breathe. They help us to bring the change of seasons. From the four directions they come, bringing us messages and giving us strength. With one mind, we send our greetings and thanks to the four winds. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We have now arrived at the place where we end our words. Of all the things we have named, it was not our intention to leave anything out. If something was forgotten, we leave it to each individual to send such greetings and thanks in their own way. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Let's do the whole song. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered near and those far away, for this time we share with love
My name is Elena Perez. I go by Len. I am from Picaris Pueblo, a small tribe nestled at the base of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in northern New Mexico. I'm here today to share some of myself with you, but I can't be with you in person today. Instead, I'm celebrating my birthday with friends and family in my hometown of Santa Fe. When Rev Dance asked me if I would like to contribute to today's service, I was hesitant, but I came to the conclusion that I'm a UU, I am Indigenous, and what I tell you matters. At least I hope it matters to you. And this reflection very quickly turned into a pretty serious essay, so let's get going. I'm here to tell you, my friends, that I'm angry, though I may not look it. I'm angry because our voices, our stories, and our struggles are often overlooked and dismissed. But despite my anger, I'm here to speak on some of the challenges facing Indigenous communities today, and how liberation theology calls us to be active participants in dismantling the systems that perpetuate these challenges. So let's start by talking about liberation theology and how it relates to Southwest Native American spirituality, especially in the context of Unitarian Universalism. When we weave in Southwest Native American spirituality, something beautiful happens. This spiritual tradition is deeply rooted in a reverence for nature and a recognition of how everything is interconnected. Native American spirituality embraces a holistic understanding of existence and sees the sacred in every aspect of life. It's about communal well-being and a responsibility to care for one another and the earth. And it aligns perfectly with the principles of liberation theology. By embracing these perspectives, we can deepen our understanding of justice work and find inspiration for transformative action. We're talking about actively challenging systems of oppression, supporting Indigenous communities, and working to dismantle the colonial legacies that continue to haunt us. It's about recognizing the wisdom and traditions of Indigenous spirituality and standing in solidarity with marginalized voices. Let's not sugarcoat this part. The Indigenous peoples of the U.S. have endured a complex and challenging history. We have faced forced displacement, cultural erasure, and ongoing socioeconomic disparities. The history of Indigenous peoples in this country is stained with profound injustices. Centuries of colonization, forced assimilation, and deliberate destruction of our cultural practices have left lasting scars, and those scars are still felt today. Our communities suffer from high poverty rates, limited access to quality education, inadequate healthcare services, and crumbling infrastructure. Economic opportunities are scarce, leading to unemployment and income inequality. These systemic barriers only worsen the challenges we face, perpetuating cycles of disadvantage. And let's not forget the struggle for land and resource rights. Our traditional lands, vital for cultural preservation and sustenance, have been encroached upon and exploited. Extractive industries such as mining and fossil disregard the sacredness and environmental integrity of our territories. They disrupt the delicate balance between Indigenous peoples and our ancestral lands, undermining our autonomy and self-determination. Our cultures are under attack. The loss of language, traditional knowledge, and cultural practices continue to erode the rich tapestry of our heritage. Efforts to reclaim and revitalize Indigenous languages, arts, ceremonies, and storytelling are met with significant challenges. We face limited resources, limited access to cultural education, and the impact of assimilationist policies that have disconnected many of us from our ancestral traditions. And if that's not enough, we are also on the front lines of climate change and environmental degradation. The impacts disproportionately affect us. Rising temperatures, water scarcity, and loss of biodiversity threaten our very existence. Our traditional subsistence practices are under threat, and the delicate balance between Indigenous peoples and our lands is being disrupted. Despite our deep ecological knowledge, our voices are often marginalized in environmental decision-making processes. The struggles we face are not isolated incidents. They are interconnected and deeply rooted in historical and ongoing injustices. It's time to address these challenges head on, and it's time to acknowledge and redress the past while empowering Indigenous communities to shape their own future. It's time to recognize our inherent rights, cultural distinctiveness, and contributions. It's time to pave the way for a more just and inclusive society, where our voices are heard, our rights respected, and our cultures celebrated. I invite you to reflect on your privilege, confront your complicity in oppressive systems, and commit to the ongoing work of justice and liberation. It's about fostering a more inclusive and transformative Unitarian Universalist faith that honors the interconnectedness of all beings. By embracing these insights, we can strive for a better world where everyone's liberation is intertwined. UUs can take meaningful action to combat the oppressions faced by Indigenous peoples. It starts by educating yourselves. Educate yourselves about our history, culture, and struggles. Seek out and center our voices and perspectives in your congregational activities. Build relationships and solidarity with our communities. Support Indigenous-led movements and campaigns. Advocate for policy changes that promote justice and equality. Reflect on your assumptions and challenge the biases you hold. Cultivate cultural competence within your congregation and community. That's our UUCP congregation and community. But remember, this isn't a one-time effort. The struggle for justice is ongoing, and allyship requires commitment and active engagement. Stand with us, listen to us, learn from us, and act in solidarity. Talk to the guy at the bus stop. Google the American Indian Movement or the Indian Act. Shut up when indigenous people are talking. Buy native and buy from native-owned shops. And punch your friends who dress as Indians for Halloween. Every little bit helps. Together, we can contribute to dismantling the systems of oppression and promoting the empowerment of Indigenous peoples. And together, we can demand justice, respect, and equality. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you, Len. Thank you to one of our favorite water protectors. Happy birthday. Thank you for your words. Beloveds, this year we have journeyed through several of the world religions that we as humans have created to make meaning in our world. We've looked at the concept of liberation and where we draw inspiration and hope from each of these different religions. We've explored faiths as diverse as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, humanism, Buddhism, and the uniquely American culture of the African American Church. I have appreciated the conversations that have emerged from this series about what these traditions have in common and how much they differ. I have delighted in hearing you talk more and more about liberation in more complex understanding terms and engaging with the nuances that come with exploring these huge topics with appreciative eyes and open hearts. So we conclude this series this year with the religion that is most geographically relevant to us here in Phoenix, and also the most difficult to fit into this liberation box: American Native and Indigenous religions. As with the other religions, which are not my religions, we turn to guides from these religions to help us understand the complexities. For today's exploration, I have the great honor of drawing from the wisdom of one of my professors from seminary, Dr. George E. Tinker, who is professionally known as Tink Tinker. He is a citizen of the Osage Nation and was the professor of American Indian cultures and religious traditions at Iliff School of Theology. He has written extensively, and his most relevant book is Spirit and Resistance: Political Theology and American Indian Liberation. I have drawn all year from this book, edited from Miguel de la Torre, Hope of Liberation in World Religions. I highly recommend it. So this is why it's difficult to fit indigenous religions into the liberation theology box, although I think Len just did an amazingly acute job of it. But it is a challenge because, like much else, that box is inherently based on colonized Christianity. First of all, we need to remember that many American Indians refer to October 11th, 1492 as the last day of perfect freedom on this continent. The indigenous concept of freedom, which is synonymous for them with harmony and balance, has been a struggle to get anywhere close to that since that colonization. It gets even more complicated because, as Tinker says, Native American religious traditions have been misunderstood, maligned, romanticized, and misappropriated. Paradoxically, these traditions have been either disparaged and condemned as primitive, savage, bizarre, and/or evil, or they've been fetishized and romanticized as an exotic colonial fantasy, end quote. And then it gets even more complicated, as he says, liberation is a modern concept that was foreign to North American communities in that it necessarily connotes its opposite, which is bondage, even as it idealizes escape from or resistance to that bondage. To the contrary, North American indigenous communities had no tradition of conquest or bondage per se until the advent of European invasion and colonial occupation. Therefore, the concept of liberation itself comes out of the colonizer's culture and religious tradition. Tinker puts a fine point on it. To ask the oppressed now to use that tool seems blatantly disingenuous. Christianity was imposed on us by the colonizer through the colonizer's religious functionaries as a distinct strategy for conquest. The imposition of Christianity was always essentially just another strategy to pry the land loose from its indigenous owners, to satisfy the greed of trading companies or immigrant hordes of settlers. So, how does Tinker reconcile with this? While basically saying that liberation theology for Indian people, and he does use that term to Katie's point, may require a firm no to Jesus and Christianity. To Tinker, the starting place is not grounded in Christianity, but rather the ceremonial structures that promoted peace, harmony, and balance for millennia before the European invasion. As I said earlier, freedom in indigenous religions is synonymous with balance and harmony, not just in harmony with other humans, but with all of the creatures of the earth and the land and the water, all that we mentioned in the meditation. I wanted you to experience that versus just talking about it. Because another way that indigenous balance and harmony differs from its counterpoints from the colonizing Christians is that it doesn't center the freedom of the individual. Rather, peace and harmony are a communal goal. Tinker says any disruption of the community's balance, and there was always some disruption or another, called for attention to whatever ceremony needed to be done in order to restore balance. Since balance was an ideal that called for maintaining appropriate relationships with animals, with plants, with rivers and mountains, and with each other, the radical individualism of American European peoples could never be part of our ancestors' experience of the world or their own habitual patterns of behavior. We need to decolonize that, huh? Decisions weren't grounded in what was right for the individual, but instead made with the well-being of the community in mind. One example of the more common community building ceremonies is the giveaway, a ceremony that is practiced in nearly all communities today. Tinker describes it this way: in this ceremony, a person, or especially that person's family, shows its honoring of the community by collecting especially desirable goods and then giving them away to others in a formal ceremonial setting. Indeed, one dramatic difference between American European society and traditional Indian societies is that Indian people do not place the highest value on those who have given the most, who have the most of this world's material wealth. Rather, our societies place the highest value on who gives the most away. Tinker continues, the practice of generosity was so important historically in my own Osage nation that one could not rise to leadership on the Council of Elders unless one's life had been marked by a habit of personal and familial giveaway. In the Osage tradition, the giveaway was intense. It meant collecting goods for up to 7 years and then giving away everything that the family possessed. This act of community building for its next meal, this act of community building meant that the family in turn became dependent on the community for its next meal and for its own well-being until they could reestablish self-sufficiency. What a powerful mechanism for establishing a communitarian value system and for ensuring communal harmony. So to be clear, if we are not Indigenous, this religion is not ours, but yet we can learn some of the powerful lessons it has to teach. We can remember that the community is more important than the individual. We can reject the worship of mass consumption that comes from corporate greed, as well as the value of radical individualism to put the collective ahead of the individual. We can remember that this collective means all things, not just the humans, but the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the flying beings, the rocks, the mountains, the rivers. We can fight for the sacredness of the water as if it were our family, because it is. We can look to see how we are out of balance, because we are most often out of balance. And then we can remember the power of ceremony to bring us back into balance. We can recognize the power of ritual in regrounding us in what is important to our community and our world. And we can remember that liberation means different things to different people. And that for people who haven't been free for over 500 years, that we look past our Eurocentric colonizing lens to see what existed before the sins of colonization took place. We must put aside the assumption that we know what other people's reality is and be open to listening and learning different perspectives. Peace be upon you and all your relations. May you find harmony and balance in all that you do. May your gift-giving be abundant as your community thrives. And may your work for the liberation of all people continue in this sacred space that we have created together. So might it be.
Katie mentioned earlier that the effect of the genocide on us is that we forget about Native peoples, right? We don't think about them as if they're not here. And that effect is everywhere when you start to look for it. I have heard this closing song that I want to sing with you 100 times I didn't know it was by a rock band of all Native folks called Redbone that wrote lots of songs about Native liberation. I had no idea. I just heard the song a million times. You've heard it too, probably, or a lot of you have. It's called Come and Get Your Love. It was a big hit in 76, I believe, or 74. You know, another part of the internalized genocide pattern, that exotification thing, is the dressing up as natives thing that Len said please don't do. When I was reading about this song, I discovered that in the early 2000s, there was an imposter band that pretended to be Redbone. They played county fairs. They charged a lot of money. They had no affiliation with the actual band. So, you know, watch out for these cultural patterns. These are genocide patterns that we carry, that we can be aware of. Anyway, with full knowledge of these patterns, let's sing Redbone's biggest hit together, Come and Get Your Love. And in these verses, if you don't know the verse, just sing the hey, hey with me, you know, the echo. Hey, what's the matter with your head? Yeah, yeah. Hey, what's the matter with your mind and your sign and your oh, hey. Nothing's the matter with your head, baby, find it. Come on and find it, hey. Nothing's the matter 'cause you're fine and you're mine and you look so divine. Here we come and get your love. 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 Hey, what's the matter? Do you feel right? Don't you feel right, baby? Hey, you can get it from the main vine. All right, yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, go on and love it if you like it. Yeah, you can find it. Hey, it's your business if you want some. Get some, get it together, baby. Come and get your love. 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 Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. Come and get your love, come and get your love, come and get your love now. Here's the chorus again. Come and get your love. 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 Hey, what's the matter? Do you feel right? Don't you feel right, baby? Hey, you can get it from the main vine. All right. La 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 la. Come and get your love. La 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 la. Come and get your love. La 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 la. Come and get your love. La 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 la. Come and get your love. Have a seat, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Come and get our love. Please be seated. In a moment, we will have coffee hour, one online and one outside, or in the Johnson Room. There's options for both. But now it is the time to greet one another. Please take a moment while we are still in the sanctuary before we leave to introduce yourself to our new faces here today. Say hello to old friends and think about who you haven't seen for a while and send them a note or a text. Let them know. Adult and children's activities will begin at noon in order to give people a chance to get something at coffee hour. Now, may you go and find your love. May every single person's liberation be your aim. May you find peace and balance and harmony in your life. And may the love of this community sustain you until we are together again. Go in peace. Go in love.